Good morning.
Oh, what happened? Stand back. I don't know, the
Stand back.
camera angle isn't good. I don't know, I'll have to adjust it later. You're gonna be standing up first, right?
I am. Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday fun day. Woo! Love it. My voice is a little hoarse today.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yes, well, I just want to make sure the obvious is known. All right, we're gonna get started today. We're gonna come all the way to the very backs of our mat, please. Please and thank you. We're gonna bring our feet just a little wider than hip width apart. I'm gonna angle out the heels so that the toes aim towards the center line of the mat. And as we do so, we're gonna start to begin to warm the body by simply oscillating and moving the hips side to side. Explore a little bit with the range you can take it to. Try to make it progressively wider across. Gonna put your hands on the hips. And now that we've explored that, we're beginning to circle. I'm going counterclockwise right now. You can go in any direction you want. We're going to reverse it. Try to increase the diameter of the circles. And then on the forward thrust here, I'd like you to reverse the motion and go the opposite way. Increasing again the diameter as we make those hips of ours kind of hula hoop around. And then let's bring us centering back. Focus on the feet all but for just a second here. I'd like you to take the ball of each big toe. I'd like you to kind of push that into the mat. Let the little toes kind of lift up if they can. So we have a deep pressurization into that ball of each big toe. And we're going to make the knees nice and straight as we come straight through the legs. I'd like you to keep the hands on the hips. I'd like you to pull the elbows together in the back of your body. As we expand through our chest, I want you to imagine there's a string on the head, the top of it, of course, pulling it high to the sky, dropping the chin so that underneath runs parallel to the earth. And then I'm going to ask you to protect yourself from that imaginary cannonball that I often refer to and engage that six pack. And as you keep that engagement, I'd like you to draw the hips backwards. The spine is really immobile. We're not kind of going through any kind of flexion or inward rotation. And those pinching together of the elbows in the back is to help to keep the expansion through the chest and the reduction of inward rotation of the shoulders. And if you feel any tension in the neck, try to grow the neck. As we hold on this for just a second more, I'd like you to kind of take it to the topple point where you pull back the hips, where it almost feels like you're going to fall backwards, and just hold on that. Now, while we're here, I'd like you to take the heels and try to isometrically activate those medial muscles by trying to pull the heels together. We're going to hold this for another couple breaths, and then we're going to release, stand tall, aim the toes straight forward. Bring the hands out in front. Palms are facing. You're going to separate those fingers nice and widely. And we're going to draw back the shoulders. And then we're going to sweep them forward. So we're going to basically move in and out with the shoulders for vascularizing shoulder muscles. And as we hold back this time, I'd like you to bring the hands out a little wider than shoulder width and then rotate the elbows up. So you're kind of like almost going to lay a big hug on me, but you're not quite going to do that because we're so distant right now. All right, now we have this palm facing palm, elbows high. I'd like you to draw down the hips slowly. Now the weight bearing here in the feet is very important. I want you to register where the weight's going, and in particular, if you can, drift backwards so that the heels have most of the weight bearing. So we're posterior chain loading right now. Lower a little deeper, try to keep those elbows nice and high and try to keep those shoulders back. Come down and then stand tall and extend the arms all the way forward. All right, so starting position, actively working all the way down. Come back up to start. And between these 2 points, just rep it out a little bit. Remember, we're still warming. So take it at your own pace, nice and slow, and explore the range. Each depth of movement, try to get a little deeper down to the earth with that butt of yours. Someone's exhausted already.
Arms.
And then hold it up, sweep those arms to the sky, pull high with the fingers, fill those lungs with breath, and as you release it, let the arms relax down, shake it out. Now, palms face inward, fingers separated widely. We're gonna spin the palms out and dial those thumbs all the way back. So we have a nice exterior rotation through that shoulder of ours as we pull back. I like you to make the chest proud, but not at the sacrifice of the low back. I want you to keep those six-pack muscles nice and engaged and think of decompression and elongation for that spinal column. Now, while we rotate back the thumbs, I'd like you to take your elbows and pull them together in the back and keep that nice activation. So we have external rotation through the hands and palms, thumbs rotating backwards, and the squeeze of the elbows together. So there's a lot of activation of muscle through the back, across the shoulders as we keep that. We're going to keep that as we fold forward and come back up. So we're just kind of practicing forward folding without inward rotation right now. With that nice, strong, highly active musculature of the back. Spine column is long, and we're bending slightly through the knees as we fold down because we're still warming right now. I'm going to do this a couple more times. And on the next elevation, hold up and relax everything. Shake it out. Great job. Now, step the right foot forward, up on the toes of that back foot. Separate so you've got good balance and stability. Make sure that that back heel isn't rotated exterior or interior. It's aiming straight up at the sky. And I'm going to take that front knee. I'm going to drift it forward to the toes. And then we're going to push down with the heel. There's a little bit of practice here because our anterior muscles want to take over, which means the ball of the big toe is going to be noticed more pressurized. I'd like you to take the pressure in the foot back to the heel as best you can. I'd like you to practice that as best you can. When you've got that heel more pronounced, I'd like you to straighten out the leg. And then keep this inward lean nice and tall through the upper body. Hands are going to come over heart. I'm going to hold in this for a couple breaths. Now, while we hold here, I'd like you to create two activations. A reverse and a forward activation. So the back leg is relatively straight. We're up on the toes, of course. And I'd like you to take the ball of that back foot and pull it towards the heel of the front foot. That's one, that's the forward. And then conversely, heel pulls back towards the toe. So we have all of these muscles through the legs, front and back, pulling together to the center, bringing through the leg, through the pelvic girdle really. And I'm going to hold on this pull. Take another breath or two, and then relax everything. Step the back foot forward, change up sides. Same setup, opposite side. Find that nice push forward to the knee. Find the heel driving the force. Let's take a little bit of time to kind of experiment so we can get that heel locked down and be anchoring and driving the force. And when you got it, straighten out that front leg. Keep that heel driving. We still have that lean forward. And now we're going to begin the activation. Ball of big toe, heel pulling together. Make it happen. Give me a little more. Trampoline's always good. You were still waking up and vascularizing these muscles. Even though they're working isometrically, they're still working. And on the next breath, as you release it, step it forward, shoot those hands up to the sky. Take a big breath in. And as you exhale it, fold all the way down. Woo! Check out your pedicure. As you inhale, extend to a flat back. Exhale, fold. And continue to do this pattern of movement. As you do it, I want you to see if you're rocking forward and back. And if you can, stop the rock and just try to keep a nice balance of weight front to back of foot. This is all about hip positioning. So if you're pressurizing in the front, you've drifted forward with the hips. And if you pull too far back, it's all about the heels. So find balance with those hip positioning as you do spinal extension and spinal flexion, incorporating the breathing, inhaling as you extend, exhaling as you fold. Now hold the extension, keep that weight balance in the feet good. Step your palms onto your shins, and now externally rotate the elbows. So instead of bringing them into the body, move them out away from the body. As the palms push the shin, work your spinal extensors and work your neck extensors. Try to grow that whole spinal column right up to the top of the head, nice and long. Straighten out the legs, straighten them out even more. And even more if you got it, nice pull, attention for the muscles at the back of those legs of yours. Keep that, grip the hips backwards without toppling. This is again, topple free, but using this loading experience for these muscles, spinal column long, take a big breath in, keep the legs long, let the upper body go into flexion, keep the palms pushing into the shins. Let the head just kind of dangle. Now, palms maintain their push. Inhale, expand that spinal column. Pull with the head, bend those knees, lower that booty, and you'll notice that your hips, your butt, should be lower than shoulder height. Keep the palms pushing into the shin. It's a nice activation for your lats. Now, take the arms up and sweep forward. You're in a deep squat here. Lower down a little deeper, and then stand all the way up. The work's becoming progressively more challenging. You might notice your breathing picking up. This is all good stuff. Lower down again and raise back up. When you lower, try to again practice what we were practicing earlier, which is the avoidance of that inward rotation of the shoulders. I'd like you to keep retracted. Coming down, chest proud, rising up, chest proud. Another thing to pay attention to is the knees. Are they buckling in or splaying out? Try to keep them tracking with the toes. You can take a peek if you want to. You can also feel what's going on in the foot. You'll notice that the outside of the foot may become more weighted as you come down, and that's because you're exteriorly rotating. Try to keep the pressure, internal, external to the feet, the same through the whole range of motion, and try to explore the range of motion. We're going to do this a couple more times. And then I'm going to hold up, relax, shake out those legs, take a big breath in, excuse me, and then sweep your arms up to the sky. All right, now, we have a lot of experience trying to ratchet back, which often misaligns our spinal column. So I would like you to try to maintain a nice long arm, and it doesn't need to have the arms far back. I'd like you to have them long so that we're not pulling or ratcheting through the shoulders. So just have them up. They could be forward like this, whatever, as long as we're not forcing a position in those arms of ours. So we hold nice and long. I'd like you to keep fingers separated nice and widely, and make an effort to kind of like separate them even more, like you're just trying to pull them off and wider than they are. As we hold this, I'd like you to pull with the fingers and let the shoulders drift up. And I'd like you to keep the fingers expanded as we draw the shoulders down. Nice. Now, up, down, not bending through the elbows. Raising, lowering, holding, and then lower down the arms, shoulder height. Beautiful. Take it down to a squat. We practiced this earlier. Range of motion might be better now than when we first started. Come back up, arms sweep to the sky, arms lower, shoulder height, hips lower down, get low, see how low you can go. Sweep up, lower, down. Oh, now hold down. Fold in, legs are bent, upper body, finding a nice, relaxing, hopefully relaxing position here. Drive your butt to the sky, you straighten out those legs.
Straighten them out even more. Straighten them out even more. Draw back the hips. Feel that nice pull through the back of the legs. Straighten those legs even more. Now hold the legs straight and take the ball of each big toe, pushing it into the mat. Take your little toes up off the mat. Nice. Now, as you inhale, extend to a flat back. Keep the back in extension, drift back a little more. We're kind of cantilevering over the heels. Walk the fingers forward, spine still long. Now, while we hold here, I'd like you to try to squeeze your legs together. Oh, hold on that for a couple breaths, and then relax everything. Palms come back onto your thighs this time. As you inhale, extend to a flat back, come all the way back up to standing. Open the palms, draw the elbows backwards. As we expand for the chest, I'd like you to make it proud, but I'd like you to make an expenditure in the back. Pull strong those muscles so we create that nice expansion through the chest. As we hold here, squeeze the elbows together. Now, make your hands into fists, bring those hands up, elbow height, and we have the thumbs kind of pointing out to the side. We're going to use this squeeze of the elbows and then exterior rotation of the arms up through the shoulders, come back in. Now, you may not be able to touch, that's fine, I'm not able to, but I'm coming in close and then I'm basically opening up, keeping my hands running through the same plane. Nice and level all the way out, nice and level all the way in, making sure I'm not finding tension anywhere. This is just a simple exterior rotation exercise for our shoulders and the shoulder blades in particular. So it's a little bit of tension created by our body's muscles as opposed to using an elastic band that we often do if we're trying to rehabilitate. This is more muscular coordination right now. So helps you out a little bit. And do this exercise whenever you want. You don't need a band. Squeeze the elbows into the body. As we exterior rotate the arms, keep them squeezing to come back center. Let's do this one more time. Hold it out. Nice. Now serve out the hands all the way out. Palms high, open wide, making sure you're not splashing someone. But take a big breath in and you exhale, bring it all the way up to the sky. Palms come together, interlock the fingers, and then drop down, hands over heart. Good morning, everybody. Now that we're all warmed up, are we ready to work? Good stuff. All right, let's bring the feet out to the edges of the mat. Toes are going to aim towards the center line, and we're going to keep our legs nice and straight. We're going to have this energy of palms pulling together. You'll notice my palms are flat to each other with the fingers interlocked as opposed to a separation. Like to keep the palms pushing into each other as best you can. And as you do that, as you execute that, I want to make sure you're not inwardly rotating the shoulders. This is exterior rotation, palms pushing together. You can feel the chest working. I'm going to keep that with hands over heart as we fold halfway down. Now this nice elongation of the spine creates a nice little pull through the back of the legs. We're going to accentuate that by taking the ball of each big toe, pushing it into the mat, and then straightening out the legs. Oh, did you get that extra little right up on the back side of your legs, up by the butt? You're going to keep that for 1 second, and then slowly unhinge. As you become unhinged, I'm going to keep that nice palm pressure. All right, now take your toes, angle them out. Nice. Now, so we have a nice enough width from the heels. I have mine on the edges of the mat where we can execute a pseudo sumo squat. In this case, as we lower down, I'd like you to try to keep the upper body vertical so we're not folding in or hinging through the hips. We have a posterior loading mostly because we maintain a relatively good vertical position. Come down low and then rise back up. Now, same time with the control. No inward rotation, palms pushing together, shoulders remain retracted, lowering down and then raising up. Now, the muscles worked in lowering. I'd like you to focus it on the anterior front muscles by allowing the knees to push forward and the hips to drift backwards. And although we're creating more of a posterior load in our posterior chain, of course, we're gonna accentuate that on the rise. So come on down, hold down for a second, and much like we practiced earlier, I'd like you to take the heels and push those into the mat as we push back up. And it's gonna create more of a focus of energy into the posterior muscles. Great, so it's important to keep those muscles chains strong. They get sat on for long periods of time. This is a good exercise to not only explore the range and good for joint mobility, but it's also good to vascularize and increase strength in those muscles that enable us to work the posterior chain. Up. Come down, hold it down. Try to keep long through the spine. See if you can sink a little lower, a little deeper, and then drive with the heels, come all the way back up. Shake it out. Good job. Quads, hamstrings, all good stuff. Let's come on down to the mat. I'm gonna grab some water on the way down.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I'm gonna change the camera.
Trish is gonna fix the camera, so my feet are observable. I can scoot back a little. All right.
Good.
Yeah, everything's good.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna bring ourselves into a seated position. Feet are in flexion. Now, with external rotations, which basically we're gonna take our flex feet and then we're gonna open the legs. So roughly about a 90-degree angle. If you're not good at math or geometry, give me your best guess at it. All right. Now, with the hands over the kneecaps, I want to make sure we haven't gone into spinal flexion and we're not sitting on our tailbones. I'd like you to kind of do both together. Let's go into spinal flexion and feel your tailbone connected to the mat. And then we're going to change it. So we're going to basically crowd out the chest, pull with the arms, rock those hips up and onto our sit bones. And now that we've found that spot, or we're pretending to find that spot, because it's all about muscle activation, I'd like you to hold on this and then crowd out the chest and then alternating. Remove the right arm, extend it out, put it back, and then do the same with the left. And just continue doing this. So what we're doing is we're loading our obliques and our rectus abdominis, a bunch of muscles through the core. And we're kind of using stabilization because we're not rotating from side to side. So we're just kind of using these muscles isometrically. And we're imparting more load by simply shifting the arm forward. So it goes to one side and then the other. So just continue to do this for a couple more reps. You might notice that, oh my God, my tummy is kind of working a little bit here. All right, now hold both out. And then Pilates style, I like you to cave in, practice what your body's used to doing, which is caving in, and then lower all the way down onto the mat. Whoops. And then extend the legs all the way up. Yes, so my arms can't go all the way back, but extend your arms all the way back. And point your toes, and then use your fingers and toes to pull opposite direction. Fill those lungs, expand that whole body of yours. As you relax the body, release the air, and bring your hands down onto your hips. I have them located there, so now your shoulders, I'd like you to kind of flatten out the shoulder blades as best you can, and that's simply, as I often refer to as crowding out the chest. So we have that crowded chest. We have the legs walked out to the sides of the mat, and you're gonna take your head and you're gonna slowly lower it to the left side. So this is rotation of the head itself. And then come back center, go over to the right side. And as you slowly rotate from side to side, I got a question to ask you. What's happening with those shoulders? Are you lifting them up off the floor?
No.
Because if you are, relax them. This is just simply a nice stretch. Keep the chest nice and proud. And we're just basically lengthening both sides of the neck, the muscles that often get crushed when our head drops in to read stuff. It should feel relatively good. It's not a lot of work. All but for keeping those shoulder blades from trying to help out with the movement, or sometimes they get tricked into helping out with the movement because the muscles we're actually stretching and working right now kind of lose their way. So they ask for help from the surrounding muscles and joints like shoulders. So now that we've done this a few thousand times and we're completely dizzy, we're gonna hold in this and we're gonna do a little bit of pelvic rocking, and I'm gonna add a couple things together. So pelvic rocking, that's pronouncing the weight into the tailbone. So that's kind of anterior pelvic tilt. It's like the top part of the front of your pelvis is lifted up off the floor. It's like it's being pulled by a string on each hip point. And then we're gonna lower the strings, and you're gonna feel, hopefully, the low back skin, the lower spine itself, kind of more connected to the mat. So that's the rocking. We pull up, anterior pelvic rotation, and we're lowering down, posterior pelvic rotation. And just practice that a few times.
Why is this?
Now, this is good because of our pelvic base, these small muscles that kind of interact with the base, and also some of the larger muscle chains that allow us to do hip extension and flexion depend upon pelvic stability. So we're kind of working that right now, getting in touch with those muscles, warming them up, and then we're going to get the low back skin now on the mat. And imagine I'm going to drop a bowling ball on your belly. What are you going to do? Yeah, do it then. Keep it nice and engaged. We're not contracting or compressing anywhere else. It's just activation of that six-pack muscle. You're going to keep it active. We have that nice posterior rotation of the pelvic girdle, and we're going to keep the nice activation we have there. And then what we're going to do is take our lower spine, so from the tailbone, I like you to kind of pull it up off the earth, and this is kind of inwardly rotating, or imagine the pubis being pulled up by a string. So you're gonna feel your glutes start to engage, because we're literally peeling your spinal column from the base, from the pelvic base, up off the floor, vertebrae by vertebrae, one at a time, of course, lifting it up so that we are coming into a bridge, and all the way up until you're on your shoulder blades in the back. And then slowly, we're going to imprint down each vertebrae. So this is connecting all of the things we were doing earlier, right? Down, 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 down. You can almost feel each bone of the vertebrae of the spinal column connecting. And then when you get down, relax everything. Let it just kind of go. And then let's reset it. So the ball of each big toe. And then cannonball. And then start to peel and pull the belly button in towards the spine as you peel vertebrae by vertebrae up off the earth, bridging up slowly and then lowering slowly. So basically a 5 to 6 count all the way up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and continue doing this up and down. Take a few reps, try to increase the height up. You might feel pulling on the sides of the legs up by the hips. That's your tensor fascia lata getting a nice pull or stretch. That's a muscle. That tendon, the IT band, often gets problematic when those hip flexor muscles don't let go. They keep that tension and they keep pulling, and you get sore knees and bad feeling hips. So we're just kind of working muscles that help to relieve the workload on those side muscles that often get abused when you sit for periods of time. Enough my wife's saying, enough mansplaining. All right, let's do one more rep. We're gonna hold up on this rep. And then we're gonna try to
accentuate a little bit of higher lift. So imagine you have a string on each side of your pelvic girdle, and then you use it to lift up a little higher. Pull. Pull a little higher, and then relax everything down and pull your knees up and into your chest. Great job. Circle the knees. Circle in the opposite direction. And then pull your forehead up to meet your knees and rock forward to back, all the way back up to a seated position. Good morning, everybody. All right, time for a little more water. Okay, here we go, folks. So we're gonna take our butt over to the left side of our mat and find an alignment of the left thigh running parallel to the mat with a 90-degree bend in that left knee of ours. Let's take the foot into flexion. So basically have 90, 90, and then we're gonna take this leg of ours, post it so that we have like a 90-degree through the hip and through the groin, basically. I'm reaching forward to grab the shin, so my right hand is wrapping my left shin. Now, flexion of the spine, extension of the spine, like you make a nice extension, and then while I hold here, I'm going to use my hinge point, which is the outside of my left foot, and I'm going to try to rotate my left thigh towards the mat. And as I create that rotation, I'm going to create some spinal extension, and then I'm going to take rotation of the right knee and do the same thing. So I'm kind of opening up and feeling that nice pull through the medial or inner thigh muscles of that right leg. And then I'm going to relax that and switch up sides. This is a nice little stretch. And it's really a muscle training exercise. So same setup, opposite side. And then create that nice opening as you create a nice elongation of the spine. And then as it comes back in, switch up sides again. We're gonna add on to this, so we have a little bit of progression going on. This time, instead of planting the foot, we're going to basically rotate the leg down. So we've done these versions before, 90 and 90 degrees. What makes these very important in terms of our exercise is loading muscle, developing muscle strength in these stretches that we're really doing. So in this one here, I'd like you to take down onto the elbow on the left side. So we have 45-degree thereabouts angle, and I'm going to take your right hand, I'm going to put it out in front, and you're going to start walking this. So this is rotational as we lower down to feel a nice stretch along that right side body, maybe right onto that right hip. Keep the right shoulder rotating down towards the earth. We have a lot of support in that left forearm, not just falling into this. We have that left side pushing away. Our chest is proud, right? Proud it out, roll the spine, keep the neck from being compressed, walk that hand out a little more, and then walk it back in and come back up onto that left side. So we're nice posting, and we have a little bit of spinal lateral flexion. We should feel a nice little pull through this right hip, and take the right hand out. And we're going to push with the left hand and pull with the right fingers. We're going to try to pull and lengthen the right arm, pulling to the right side. Take your head and let the neck elongate on both sides, but more so on the left. So we feel a nice pull through that left side neck. And then relax that. And we're going to bring this progression to the opposite side. So as we switch up, same setup, opposite side. Does that ever get tired of saying that? No. All right. Coming on down, forearm. Remember, this is a support mechanism. As we walk that left hand forward, we're bringing that spine into flexion. Eventually, we have nice elongation for the spine. Most important here is that pull of that hand, walking it forward. And as you walk it back up, we're going to post back into that right side. I feel like I forgot something, maybe I did. And then we're going to take that left hand, send it out,
along the left side of the body. You notice that my fingers are always widely separated. And that's because it's counter to what we typically do, which is close in on things. We're just opening it up. It's just something to practice the antithesis of what we traditionally do. So taking bad habits, making them into productive habits are good things, I would hope. Now, if we pull with the arm, we're pushing. Right arm pushes, left arm pulls. You feel that nice lengthening now on the right side of it. Got that nice pull. We got that left hip. Mine's not as active as my right, so it's a little less pull on that side for me. Maybe different for you. It's fine. Enjoy the journey. And let's relax this down. Let's bring the legs back out in front now. And we're going to have this 90-degree bend in both legs. I'm going to wrap the knees. And then I'm going to lean back. And then I'm going to release. And then I'm going to take my hands on the inside of my thighs. And now I'm going to bring my spine into flexion and start walking. Let the head fall. This is all about spinal lengthening, even though it seems like a little bit compressed. Now, as we hold on this, and now we inhale and extend the spine, let the fingers kind of drift back in. And we're going to extend those legs all the way out, a little wider than hip width apart. And then Pilates style, which is just simply imprinting vertebrae by vertebrae. Take it all the way down and extend the leg, arms all the way back, point the toes, pull opposite direction, fingers and toes. And then bring the arms back up over the chest. Palms are facing, fingers are, you know what. Drop your chin into the chest, and then keep your arms reaching up to the sky as you peel up vertebrae by vertebrae. Keep the arms reaching up to the sky as you fold and flex the spine, and then let the fingers just drop down. Keep those fingers separated widely. Now sweep the arms to the sky as you keep the flexion in the spine and come back down Pilates style. So we have a lot of inward rotation of the shoulder carriage, creates more of an emphasis on the serratus and core muscles. Stretch it all the way back, bring those arms back up over the chest, drop the chin in, keep the arms reaching to the sky as you peel vertebrae by vertebrae up off the mat. The chin is tucked in towards the chest and the arms eventually lower. Hold this for a couple breaths as you arrive fingertips to the earth. Inhale, extend this time. Put both hands on the ankles so we have nice base here. I'd like you to pull the shoulders backwards, proud out the chest, grow that spine, and then pull. Now let's walk the hands onto the bottoms of the feet if it's accessible. If you don't have that, you can always wrap with a towel, of course. So we're going to keep this nice extension out. I like you to take the knees, the back thereof, and I like you to try to, not physically with any force, with muscles.
Muscle?
Muscles. Use the muscles. Use your muscles and actually try to push the back of the knees into your mat. So we have this nice extension of the spine. We're working the spinal extensors, crowding out the chest, giving you a little more depth for that nice pull on the backside. Get those muscles nice and really lengthened. Excuse me. So when you sit, these muscles are contracted and they remain contracted for long periods of time. So this is why stretches like this are very good for those muscles, because they help to create length. They kind of pull those muscles apart. And the better you practice lengthening them, the more effective they are when they're called upon for use. Have I talked it to death? All right. Let the spine flex, walk the hands inside, start to come back down Pilates style. We've internally rotated everything all the way back down. And then bring those hands up over the chest, drop the elbows down, shoulder height. So it's just like a big field goal. And it's a feel good moment, really. Now, I'd like you to take your shoulder blades and use the muscles of the back to kind of pin them
the blades, try to pin them. So that's kind of like crowding out the chest, but it's a different muscle activation. It's kind of using the muscles of the back to help them flatten and hold that flat as we let the arms. So we have that 90-degree bend. We're kind of taking the palms and we're kind of rotating them down towards the earth. So we have a severe problem if we have the shoulders peel up off the mat. I'd like you to try to pin them back with the muscles as you rotate the arms down, and then bring them back up and keep the 90-degree bend as you rotate the arms back. You notice they're going to be a lot more cooperative going back than forward. You could probably, and maybe even get all the way with the forearm onto the earth. So then slowly come back up and slowly lower down. And slowly back up. And we're just going to oscillate. It's like a wave motion between the front and the back. It's a slow movement. And I'd like you as best you can to explore the competition between the shoulders and the forearms. So as we lower the forearms, I'd like you to make sure that those shoulders don't dominate and start lifting up off the floor. As you rotate inwardly with those arms, try to keep those shoulders down. And then come back up, bring the hands all the way up to the sky, drop the chin into the chest, Pilates style, up we come, one vertebrae at a time. Diving down, extending out, walking out the fingers, letting the spine go in flexion. Inhale, extend to a flat back. Okay, now let's lift those legs of ours all the way back. I'm gonna come up onto all fours. Once again, another smooth transition. And we're gonna bring our knees, feet, hands to the width of the mats. And we're going to have a nice elongation of the spine. We're gonna let the spine be long and the neck be long as we allow the chest to kind of drop down in between those shoulders of ours. We're gonna take those elbows and spiral them inwardly. So we have a nice lockdown without locking out the joint. We've got an active joint there. We're not stacked into it, we're not pressurizing it. With the toes tucked, I'd like you to keep the back of the head pulling towards the sky, and then take your right knee, just take it up off the earth, just a fraction of an inch, just to get it up off, just a little distance, lower down, and switch for the left. And then alternate side to side, almost like you're walking them. Try not to let any of that other setup we did with the shoulders, the elbows, all that other stuff, the chest between the arms, not changing. We're kind of practicing right in that spot as we walk side to side. Take the knees one at a time, of course, and then hold both down and then lift both up simultaneously. Now, slowly drift forward, slowly drift back, and you want to practice here without pushing out through the shoulder. I'd like you to try to keep everything aligned like we had it. Don't let those elbows start to compromise the movement. If it's too much on the wrist, you can always take a break and then hold back, lower down, flex the spine now, give it what it wants. Oh, it feels so good. And then lower the chest, flip the tailbone, pull the back of the head to the sky, and then reverse this, basically cat and cow. So you kind of take control, what feels good for you. And then come back to where we started from. We're gonna take the hands, walk them forward as we drift the hips backwards. We come into child's pose, flip onto the backs of your tops of your feet, draw your hips backwards, and find that nice, relaxed, lengthening. And then come back up and bring those hands back underneath your shoulders, tuck those toes under, and come into a modified down dog. It's more of a narrower stance. See if you can get your heels to plant to the earth. And if you can, or even if you can't, I'd like you to drive the heels to the earth and straighten out the legs
And once you've worked that straightness as best you can, I want you to imagine you tied a string on your tailbone and pull it backwards and upwards, like it's a 45-degree angle from the earth, pulling with that string. And then walk the hands back towards the feet. Find the weights equal front to back and left to right. As you do so, extend to a flat back. Exhale, pull back down. Inhale, extend. Hold the extension, drift the hips backwards. Weight felt mostly in the heel as the fingers walk forward, keep the spine extending. Straighten out those legs, rotate the ball of each big toe into the mat. As you powerfully release your breath, fold back down, bring hand to opposite elbow. Walk each hand onto your thigh. As you inhale, extend to a flat back and come all the way up, sweep all the way up to the sun to salute. And as your hands lower over heart, let me say thank you for joining me today. Namaste.
Good job. There's the gang.
There's the gang.
Look at the camera. John.
I